Hello, welcome back to another video on Ask Task. After a long time, I'll be explaining you few concepts under transaction value as requested by all my followers. They wanted me to continue the concepts under GST. So once I finish this, I'll start making videos on some other useful topics. So today we will be looking into very important topic under GST because we all know that when we say GST, it's all about goods and services. The term itself says goods and service tax, right? So just like you all learn income tax, because income tax is a direct tax which is paid by an individual out of the salary what they receive, but wherein the GST is an indirect tax paid by the customers or the buyer or the seller for a certain consideration they receive, right? Just like income tax, you have definitions for all the different terms. Similarly, under GST, there's different terminologies and there are different definitions given to the terminologies. Understanding those terminologies becomes very important when you study GST in depth or whenever you're solving a problem, right? So similarly, let's directly dive into this topic today, which is called as supply value, which is also called as transaction value. Most of you who are studying GST by now have known about what is transaction value. People who don't know, let me make it very simple. So what do you know about transaction value? Let's quickly understand it with an example. Let's say if I am a seller who is offering a good at $100, right? And what I do is for favoring the buyer who is purchasing my goods, I tell them that I will give them 2% of discount if they pay me in cash. And taking this advantage, the buyer remits me $98 in cash. So try to understand the problem because you have to guess what is the transaction value here. So now it becomes really tricky for people who are not aware of what is transaction value to consider whether $100 should be considered as a transaction value on which the GST is applicable. So before that, what is transaction value in simple? So every amount what we receive, there will be, so on what amount will you charge the GST? There'll be a certain price, right, on which the GST percentage has to be applicable. So what is that price? Which is the price? That is the transaction value. Okay. Now, it's really tricky by looking into this problem, considering what should be the transaction value, whether it is $100 or the $98. Just think and just comment below what should be the transaction value. So, guys, think. Yes, it is the $98, what should be considered as transaction value. Now, transaction value can be also pronounced as TV in short form, right? So just don't be confused what is TV. TV is nothing but transaction value. So what did we understand here about the transaction value is it's nothing but the actual price which is paid by the buyer. Now, in the previous example, we have seen that $98 is actually what the seller receives from the buyer, right? Even though the goods price is $100, as the seller provides 2% discount if you pay in cash, and taking the advantage, the buyer remits $98 in cash. So, actual price which is paid by the buyer will be the transaction value or which is payable. Now, not required that every buyer who purchases the goods or services from the seller have to pay immediately, right? But he will definitely raise the invoice, which can be payable in future dates. So those value which is considered are also called as transaction value, and it is payable for both goods and service. It's not only for the goods or the merchandise, it's also for the services what you render or receive. So this was as simple as eating a banana, guys, right? So there are so many other terminologies under GST which you all have to be aware of. So let's look into those terminologies in my next upcoming videos. Until then, thank you and keep learning.